few of you may have been watching me broadcast live just a few minutes ago. I've had a difficult time trying to get my broadcasting to go live. First we lost our stream, and then I had someone that came to that door, and I thought, okay, for those of you who are watching, and there were a couple of folks out there watching live, I apologize about that. I had to end the broadcast early, but I'm back, and we're going to get right into the program. So thanks for joining. Be sure and subscribe. You never know what you might see on this broadcast, right? So, all right, let's get going into the session here. Wanted to kind of do a couple of things here today. Number one, I wanted to be able to create some audio for my new program called My Real Estate Exam Coach. By the way, if you are interested, you can go to myrealestateexamcoach.com. I'm just going to very quickly take you out there. And I forgot to put the www in there, so hopefully we'll take you out here to the site. You can watch a little commercial, see some testimonials, and by the way, I even show you how it works down here. Love for you to consider it, purchase it. I think it will really help you pass the real estate examination. Now, once you actually purchase the program, you will receive an email, a welcome email. You will have a username and a password, and that's going to take you over to my Business Tech Guy University website. Once you're at the Business Tech Guy University website, use your username and password, and you'll log right in to the system. So I'm going to show you this. Now, keep in mind, since I own the Business Tech Guy University, I have a few things that you may not see, but you can always add those later if you want to. There are some options and things that I give Global Real Estate School students at no additional charge. But again, I have information right here that shows you how to use My Real Estate Exam Coach, how to put this on your mobile phone and save it as an app on your screen on your phone so you can easily go right to it. We have all the course content here. It's broken down by the PSI examination. So, I was mentioning in my first couple of tries with this video before we got bumped off and then interrupted. But I love my real estate school. I've been teaching pre-licensed real estate school since 1987. And in 2001, right after my father passed away, I kind of was getting a little tired. At that time, I was just teaching, we just had live classes. Now, I actually had some online CE courses for the 1998 to 2000 renewal period, one of the first schools to ever do that. And it was very successful with those online schools. But in 2001, my father passed away, and I just kind of lost an interest in teaching pre-licensed real estate school. But my speaking career was taking off, and I was doing more and more speaking around the country and for organizations. And so I kept my school in place, but I wasn't doing a lot of pre-licensed schools. My wife has been urging me several years ago, you need to put your real estate school online. She was watching some things that I was doing and creating for other people, and she said, John, it'd be a huge hit if you could do that. So I did that back in 2016 and launched the school in 2017. We've been growing by leaps and bounds. We're in 5 states now. We hope to expand to more states. And so I love the school. It's my passion. I'm having the time of my life. I love doing the live streaming. But more importantly, I really have a concern for you as a student, and I want you to know that with all my heart. I want you to pass the test. I really do. And sometimes students will tell me, I didn't pass the test, and what do I do next? And, first of all, I know the discouragement that must be. I know that you have family members counting on you. I know that probably in some respect you feel like, maybe I'm a loser, or maybe, I can't do this. And I don't want you to think that way, whatever, okay? I want you to know firsthand Some of my best real estate agents who've worked for me over the years did not pass the test the first time. So get that out of your mind first and foremost. But I know some students struggle with that, and they don't know what to do next. Well, PSI gives you your exam scores, and they're broken down by category and topic. Well, with my new program, My Real Estate Exam Coach, you can go right to the topic where you had trouble and pull this up and literally begin to go through the material for that specific topic that you had trouble passing for the real estate exam. So there's lots of information here, and it's very interactive. I have lots of questions here that you can go through, and I have lots of videos. I have lots of coaching videos, and this really works well on a mobile phone. So I just wanted you to see that there are flashcards, there's interactivity, and you're just going to find this to be really an amazing tool to help you pass the real estate test. So I've got a lot of these short coaching videos that are included with the course, and if you wanted to just go to valuation and market analysis, all of the videos are right here. So you literally can either go through the course content, which I encourage you to do, but maybe you just want to watch the videos and you want to just go through all of the short videos. These are short, concise videos where I coach you on the topics. And so go through those. And if you're going out to exercise or you're driving back and forth to work once the coronavirus is over, guess what? You can listen to the audio right in your car. So I'm still working on some of this information. We have digital flashcard sessions that I'm still working on, but they will be over each topic. And so you can see here, these are just all flashcards that you can go through. And again, take these with you with your mobile phone. I think you're going to find these just amazing to be able to go through to quickly prepare and be prepared and ready for the real estate examination. So again, it's My Real Estate Exam Coach. Not only do you have access to digital flashcards, practice exams, you have the audio from the content you can listen to. You can watch the video snippets very quickly if you want to do that. And you can also just watch go through the course itself right here. So I'm going to jump down to General Principles of Agency. I'm still actually putting together some of the material for this. That's why I'm giving it away for free to any Global Real Estate School students. But I mean, the content's all built out, but some of the additional add-ons like the audio content, I still need to finish a few of those, and we're working on the digital flashcards. But other than that, if you purchase it, you're getting all the material, and I'll be adding this other information over the next week or two, and it should be totally finished. So again, it's at My Real Estate Exam Coach. Global Real Estate School students, you receive it for free. If you're thinking about going to real estate school, you need to check out Global Real Estate School. We're going to include that with your tuition. So we were going through the types of agencies. And in this first module for Principles of Agency, I want you to understand there are several types of agencies that you need to be familiar with. First of all, there's a special agent. Now, a special agent is for a special purpose, or tie the S for special with S for specific, but real estate brokers are called special agents. Why? Because they're handling one specific transaction. It could be for a seller, or it could be for a buyer. In other words, find a ready, willing, and able buyer for my real estate. If you were a seller. If you were a buyer, it could be, help me find a specific type of property. Once you've done that, or if it expires, there's other ways the agency can terminate, then that special agency is terminated. It's just for one specific purpose. Now, a general agent, on the other hand, is kind of like a limited power of attorney. Very similar to a property manager. They're going to be doing more than one task. So property managers, they're securing tenants, they're making small repairs, they're cleaning the unit out, they've got people that work for them who in turn then work for you. So you can see that it's more than just a specific purpose. It's more like a general agent. So limited power of attorney would be a good example of a general agent. Now on the real estate exam, they might ask that question, what type of an agent is a property manager? They may also go a little deeper than that, but you would know now that real estate broker in a basic listing agreement or buyer's agency agreement would be a special agent. General agent would be a good example of a limited power of attorney or a property manager. Now we talk about expressed agencies and implied agencies. Remember that an expressed agency is just expressed through your actions. And so if you have a listing agreement signed or a buyer's agency agreement signed, that's a good example of an expressed agency. An implied agency is really through your actions. I was mentioning earlier that sometimes years ago, when I first got in the real estate business, we would go out with buyers and show them properties, and agency was not a big deal. People didn't talk about it a lot, and really, I guess most agents thought they worked for the buyer, and most buyers thought the agent worked for them. And then as lawsuits started arising and attorneys and others began to figure out that, wait a minute, if the agent didn't have anything signed with the buyer, but they had an agreement signed with the seller, then they really worked for the seller, and their fiduciary obligations were to the seller, not to the buyer. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you were just customers. You were a third party. And so these lawsuits would arise, and people thought that the agent worked for them if you were a buyer, and they found out they didn't. And so the next thing you know, all of these things started coming about with buyer's agency being in place and people representing buyers. And in these court transactions, attorneys would say, well, maybe, Mr. Mayfield, maybe you weren't a buyer's agent. Maybe you didn't have a buyer's agency signed, I should say, but did you create an agency through your actions? And that's an implied agency. Normally it's done unintentionally by one of the parties. Now, an agency, we call this an implied agency an ostensible agency. Ostensible agency. And that's when the agency's created through implication or through your actions. A universal agent, if you see that on the exam, or you see a question about somebody who takes care of all of the affairs, it's a universal agent. It's normally court appointed. It's normally appointed when there's a bad health situation. Perhaps someone might have been in an automobile accident and they're in a coma and they can't function, or there's no capacity there. Then the court might appoint what is called a universal agent, and that person would then take care of all of the transactions for their client. Agency by ratification, kind of an interesting type of agency. If I go and show a house and the seller knows I'm showing it and they've never given me a listing agreement, and I show it and write a contract, the seller, by knowing that I went over to show the property, actually ratified the agency, and it was created because they didn't stop or prohibit me from finishing my duties. And then we talk about an agency coupled with an interest. An agency coupled with an interest, a good example of this is if I'm a broker and I'm providing you funds or money so that you can build a spec home or buy an apartment building or something of that nature, then I can list that property and you could not terminate that agreement because it's an agency coupled with an interest. Now, there are some other types of brokerage relationships you need to know for the examination. Transactional broker or facilitators. Those are normally real estate brokers who they're just helping facilitate a transaction between the seller and the buyer, but they're not representing either party, okay? So just remember, transactional broker or a facilitator, it doesn't rise to the level of agency. They're really just helping facilitate a transaction. Now, it's important that as a transactional broker or a facilitator, you cannot advocate. In other words, you can't give advice that an agent would normally give under an agency agreement. You're really just giving informative information that doesn't rise to the level of an agent. You want to just note and be careful there that you don't go beyond that. There is a definition called puffing. That's when puffing is when you actually go into, you're actually going in and making a statement that's a little bit overboard, like, this is the best garden spot in the area, or this is the best view on the lake here at Terre de Lac. I've seen all the homes out here and no one has a view like this. That's puffing. You want to be careful though, because sometimes people can kind of cross the line from puffing into a statement that's misrepresentation. And so you never want to get into a situation where you could be in a fraud or misrepresentation, something that goes a little bit further than puffing does. So again, understand those types. That's the first module under agency. The next section, we actually go in and you can take a quiz, or you can jump right down and go right into the next module, where we will discuss, and I'm going to kind of go through this with you just a little bit here, which are the fiduciary obligations. Now, whenever you enter into an agency agreement, you have certain fiduciary obligations to your client, the principal, and we need to examine some of these duties. Now, there is some people use the acronym OLD CAR. Some people use COLD, C-O-A-L-D. Let's use OLD CAR in this example. In other words, when you enter into an agency relationship with someone, an agency agreement, and a good example is a listing agreement or a buyer's agency agreement, you've now become a client. There's a client principal relationship. It's an expressed agency. We have to remember that the listing agreement or the buyer's agency agreement is between the broker and the client, not the salesperson. However, the salesperson is an agent for the broker, so they would be a sub-agent for the client, and they're going to have those same fiduciary obligations. So you enter into a listing agreement to sell someone's home. What are some of those fiduciary obligations? Well, first of all, if we use OLD CAR, the O represents obedience. You have to be obedient to the lawful, underline that word lawful, instructions the client requests. So if they want you to hold the home open, you've got to do that. You have to be obedient to their request, lawful. The L in OLD CAR stands for loyalty. You've got to be loyal to your client. Sometimes I'll hear buyer's agents give me information about their client that they shouldn't be giving me. And to me, that's a violation of their loyalty. If their client has told them, we really want that home, don't let it get away from us, you need to be loyal to your client and not disclose that information to me. Now, by giving me that information, your loyalties all of a sudden, has fallen apart. But the other thing is, now I have a fiduciary obligation to disclose what I've just discovered from you. So you can see old obedience, loyalty, disclosure. Be loyal to your client. A good friend of mine always said, if you would not say it in front of your client with their attorney standing next to them, then I wouldn't say it, okay? So, be loyal, be obedient. And again, loyalty is for the lawful, obedient to lawful instructions. And then if you do come across information that has been given to you, you must disclose it to your client. And that leads to the CAR. We talked about old CAR. The C stands for confidentiality. If your client gives you information, you've got to, you have to be have confidentiality for your client. Now, let's go back to that loyalty. Let's just say that I have a property listed for $100,000 and your buyer wants to make an offer of $90,000 and they tell you, look, we want to offer 90, but we'll pay the full price. We don't want to lose this home. It's perfect. It's just what we want. You bring me the offer or send it to me through email, and you and I talk on the phone, and you said, now, John, I know they've offered 90,000, but they told me they would come up to 100,000. All of a sudden, you've actually violated two principles. You weren't loyal to your client. And secondly, you gave me confidential information that you probably shouldn't have given me. Does that make sense? Now, I in turn now have information you provided me, and I have to disclose this to my client. But what if I took the $90,000 offer out and said, hey, we have an offer for $90,000. Where do you want to, and as soon as I say that, my client says, where do we sign? And I'm thinking, oh gosh, I hate to tell them that the other agent told me they would pay the full price. I think I'll just let them go on and sign this contract and be done with it. Well, am I being very confidential? The answer is, am I being very loyal? Pardon me. And the answer is no. I need to, first of all, be loyal to my client and disclose that information. You see that? So if my client, the seller, says, and I have really a good example of this right now, where my client actually wants to leave the list price at a certain price, but they're willing to take a lower price. I can't tell other agents that or other consumers who call me about that. That's confidential information. If I know my client is about to lose their home in foreclosure, I can't disclose that unless they allow me to disclose that. So again, we have to keep information confidential unless our client permits us to do that. You could be working with a buyer and they've sold their home, they have to move very quickly because of a job or a school. If they don't want you to disclose that, you have to keep that confidential. Otherwise, it hurts their bargaining and their negotiating position. A stands for accounting. You have to account for all monies, keys, papers, photos. And then the R stands for reasonable care and diligence. As a real estate professional, You should use reasonable care and diligence when putting a new listing into the MLS, checking specific information, updating photographs in the change of season. Again, old car. Those are your fiduciary obligations: obedience, loyalty, disclosure, care, accounting, and reasonable care and diligence. So don't forget that. You're going to see that on the real estate exam. So some other points to remember, that we have is that fiduciary obligations are so important, and you need to make sure that you know those and can answer those correctly on the real estate examination. Well, I am going to wrap that up for this session, and I want to thank you for joining. And I want you to check out myrealestateexamcoach.com. You were actually looking at a preview there. I saw a couple of things I need to fix, but I will fix those right after we hang up. But it's a great program, still in the early stages. That's why I have a discounted price right now. But I'm telling you what, I think it will be a great tool for you to help you pass the exam. We had an 89% pass rate last month, the last month of testing here in Missouri, so we're doing great. I want to thank you for watching the video. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Check us out on Instagram and Facebook, and go over to globalrealestateschool.com. We'd love to have you as a future student or as one of our My Real Estate Exam Coach students. Thanks again. Have a great day.